Hi everyone. So today we're going to talk about what are the things that we can do to care for plants better during this transition from a hot and humid summer to a cold and dry winter in tropical climates like India. So one of the things is that some plants, there are two major differences that happen with this kind of onset. It's either a light problem or a humidity problem. Plants which love humidity kind of deteriorate, and plants which love light and we have kept indoors, and usually in summers the light intensity indoors is very high, but as and when the winter approaches the light intensity kind of drops down. So we have to make some changes to at least make it a little bit more favorable for the plants to help through this transition. So if you like my content, don't forget to subscribe the channel, and you get notified with every one of my videos. Talk about the light problem. One such plant that faced light problem is the philodendron red emerald that I have, and we'll jump onto that. So this is the philodendron red emerald plant that you have seen in many of my earlier videos. So this was earlier in the west facing window or the west facing balcony, and right now with the onset of winter, one of the things that has happened is this plant group, uh, it was kind of deteriorating and losing leaves from the bottom. So the leaves were turning yellow and then they were dropping itself. Yellowing leaves is often an indication of two kinds of problems. It's either a watering problem, like overwatering problem, or a lighting problem. So this was definitely not a watering problem because I was not watering them. It indicated that it was a low light problem because the light intensity is very low these days, which means that indoors or even west facing balconies will have much less light than in summer, right? So I had to shift it to east facing window where it gets early morning sunlight, a little bit of shaded early morning sunlight. So this forms a little bit of shade, and it's really happy. It's giving out tremendous growth even in winter, and even in this dry conditions, even in the direct sun of the early morning sun, it's doing really well. So this is one of the adjustments that we have to do sometimes for some plants that are not doing well inside with the onset of winter. Similarly, for the Monstera borsigiana that I had to shift it on this side of it. It started out giving new growth, new leaves are coming out. You can see this one, but because this earlier was not giving out any growth. So that's the kind of tweaks that we have to do with the change in weather. And for the plants that would not have done well in direct sun in the summers, suddenly start doing very well when you shift them in early morning sun. I will still not recommend shifting any of the philodendrons to a direct afternoon kind of a terrace where it gets scorching sun, but an early morning sun is very good for these group of plants. Now, the second kind of a problem that I talked about is the humidity problem, and humidity problem is a huge problem with Calathea group of plants. So Calathea group of plants, they did very well in the beginning of the transition period. I mean, they did a lot better, but as and when the dry period started, it started deteriorating completely and the leaves started curling up, which means that it was trying to save its humidity that is being evaporated into the air. So they have to save the humidity and they have to save the moisture, so they start losing its leaves. So that's its way of letting you know that it needs more humidity. And so what I did was, as and when the leaves started deteriorating, some of the larger leaves, I did cut them off because they were completely yellowed and browned and crisped and all of that. And most importantly, I invested in a thing called humidifier. And please note that you don't have to invest in that. I mean, the reason I did is because I also have a dry skin problem, so I essentially killed two birds with one stone. I am spending a lot of time in this room, like these days, from work from home and all of that. So I have very sensitive and dry skin, and my plants, most of the plants in my room tend to love humidity. The philodendron group of plants, the syngoniums, the aglaonemas, and the calithias, alocasias, all of them love a little bit of humidity. So it was a win-win situation. So with one investment in gadget, see, right now I have not switched on the humidifier and it's still kind of humid because I've closed all the doors and windows, and it's much easier for me and it's much easier for my plants. So with that, I saw a tremendous improvement in Calathea group of plants which love humidity. For them, light is not so much of a matter. Look at the amount of growth here. You can see so many new growths. You know how many you can see on the camera. At least you can see 2 to 3 on this side. There are some on this side if you look closely, and there are some more coming out from the growth points if you can see closely. So this is the calathea that got worse and then started giving out more growth. So you have to see what the plants want. So with the two deficiencies, the light and the humidity, you have to see which plants respond better to which transition. Possibly for the red philodendron emerald, I cannot give it both light and humidity because I can either give it light by shifting it outside, but I cannot increase the humidity outside. But for some plants, I can give it humidity but not light, because inside the room there is not much light. The light intensity is less, but I can give it humidity. So I have to see which plants respond and which plants requirement of a humidity is more or of light intensity is more. So that's pretty much the call you have to take. I mean, you have to tweak the place that it is in, and you can probably invest in a humidifier, or you can create an artificial humidity by grouping plants together and keeping them in one place. And I keep those plates and fill them with water, and it kind of evaporates and creates some moisture kind of a thing around. But it's kind of like it was drying up so fast, like those things were drying up. I had kept 2 3 of them around calatheas. It was drying every 6 hours completely. So that's one of the things. But these humidifiers run for a long time. It's a 2 liter capacity. I'll link the one below, and I'll also show you a video of how it works. Breaking down of water molecules to create the humidity in the air. It's completely cold, and the calathea group of plants are kept close like this. So it creates a environment of moisture around the system and kind of loves it. So this is how it is. The water part is here. There are multiple levels. I have kept it currently at the maximum kind of level, and you can put it up and fill the water from here. So that's pretty much it. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is one of the things that is very evident with the onset of winter is something called water stress. So what is water stress? Water stress can be of 3 types. For with the name water stress, it's obvious that either it's overwatering or underwatering. That's the first 2 types. So you can either stress a plant with overwatering, or you can stress a plant with underwatering. A third kind of water stress that I found out recently. I have 2 monster deliciosas in my bedside table. You can see it in the frame right here. So there are 2 plants, and both of them plants are at the same location with the same light, with the same watering frequency and everything. Yet one of the plants was doing well and the other plant was not doing well. It turns out that the only difference that the 2 plants had was one of the plants had a little bit less of a soil, and the other plant had full, like quite a full amount of soil in the pot. So turns out that if the plant is not able to maintain the moisture, even though my watering frequency is the same and all of that, because the soil is so less in the other pot, it was not able to maintain as much moisture, and it was getting like stressed from the fact that it was drying out for so long, and then again suddenly getting drenched with water, and then not being able to take in that moisture for a long time. Something that you should keep a lookout on: if the soil content in the pot is so low, because it has drained out or something like that, or it kind of spilled over when you brought it from a nursery to your home. uh, that is also something that can cause a lot of stress to the plant, especially in this winter. It's more evident in this winter because in the summers with high humidity in places like Kolkata, where the humidity is high, it was not very evident. It was kind of getting some humidity from the air. It was able to maintain the moisture there. But as and when it gets dry, less the soil, the more faster it dries out. So that is the kind of water stress I wanted to talk about. That is very, very evident in winter. So if you see a plant deteriorating, just check out whether it has enough soil in the first place. Maybe your water schedule is right, but it's just, what is the difference? So I'll just show. So this is the plant that is doing very well, no yellow leaves whatsoever, and the soil is kind of full till here. The soil is still here, and it gave out new growth and everything. But this another plant with the same pot. It's not doing that well. Do you see the droopy leaves? This is a new leaf that has drooped so low. It has drooped very to the point. So in this case, the soil was still here actually, like just above half. And I popped it up to here. Now what I'll do is I'll pull it out and keep on. Do you see the deteriorating leaves, the droopy leaves and all of that? It's a sign of water stress. So this plant is in the exact same location with the exact same watering frequency as the other nurture deliciosa. But the only difference this has is less amount of soil. I have just topped it up with the soil to here. So I'll wait for it to respond and get a little bit better before pulling it out and checking its drainage hole and filling it up with pulling the entire plant up a little higher and giving it more soil from the bottom. That's what I'll do very soon with this guy. So that's pretty much some of the ideas that I wanted to talk about with the transition of winter at your homes, especially if you are in areas like coastal areas where the humidity is mostly high, but right now it's going down, and that might just be the cause of your plant stress. So maybe you can help it out through this transition a little bit better. Hope you learned something from this video or understood something from this video, and that's pretty much it. I share what I learned through my plants and my plant green journey, and next set of videos is gonna be a combination of local plant nursery visits, and I bought a hydroponic kit, and I'm gonna grow lettuce next because that season is just around the corner. And I will also give you an update on all the veggie garden. I have grown some of them. I'm waiting for it to grow a little bit more so I can tell you more about what I learned from it and what is my understanding from it. So yeah, there's a lot of things going on, and I'm waiting for it to cook a little bit more before making a full-fledged video. So don't forget to subscribe the channel because there will be more and more content coming up. Thanks for watching.